Good evening. You're watching India First. I'm Gaurav Sawant. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today inaugurated the Mahakal Lok, a 900-meter-long corridor in the courtyard of the Mahakaleshwar Temple at Ujjain, showcasing Adi Yogi Bhagwan Shiv's Leela. This endeavor, he said, is to take India's rich history and cultural heritage to future generations. After praying at the Mahakaleshwar Temple, the Prime Minister spoke for close to half an hour and highlighted the importance of Ujjain as a crucial center for education, philosophy, science, mathematics and spirituality. The ancient city on the banks of river Shipra is getting a major makeover as a future-ready smart city. Inaugurating the corridor, Prime Minister Narendra Modi hailed the restoration of glory of spiritual centers. Now measuring more than 900 meters in length, the corridor will have 108 aesthetically ornate pillars made of intricately carved sandstone that depicts the life of Adi Yogi Shiv. 200 statues and murals of Lord Shiv and Goddess Shakti. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and devotees lit the entire ground with Jai Mahakal chants. Let's listen in to Prime Minister Narendra Modi at Ujjain.
Jai Mahakal! Jai 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 Jai Mahakal! आज अयोध्या में भव्य राम मंदिर का निर्माण पूरी गति से हो रहा है। काशी में विश्वनाथ धाम भारत की सांस्कृतिक राजनीति का गौरव, राजधानी का गौरव बढ़ा रहा है। सोमनाथ में विकास के कार्य नए कीर्तिमान स्थापित कर रहे हैं। उत्तराखंड में बाबा केदार के आशीर्वाद से केदारनाथ, बद्रीनाथ तीर्थ क्षेत्र में विकास के नए अध्याय लिखे जा रहे हैं। आजादी के बाद पहली बार 4 धाम प्रोजेक्ट के जरिए हमारे चारों धाम ऑल वेदर रोड से जुड़ने जा रहे हैं। इतना ही नहीं, आजादी के बाद पहली बार करतारपुर साहिब कॉरिडोर खुला है। हेमकुंड साहिब रोपवे से जुड़ने जा रहा है। इसी तरह स्वदेश दर्शन और प्रसाद योजना से देश भर में हमारी आध्यात्मिक चेतना के ऐसे कितने ही केंद्रों का गौरव पुनः स्थापित हो रहा है। और अब इसी कड़ी में ये भव्य, अति भव्य महाकाल लोक भी अतीत के गौरव के साथ भविष्य के स्वागत के लिए तैयार हो चुका है। शिवम ज्ञानम, शिवम ज्ञानम, इसका अर्थ है शिव ही ज्ञान है और ज्ञान ही शिव है। शिव के दर्शन में ही ब्रह्मांड का सर्वोच्च दर्शन है और दर्शन ही शिव का दर्शन है। इसलिए मैं मानता हूं हमारे ज्योतिर्लिंगों का ये विकास भारत की आध्यात्मिक ज्योति का विकास है, भारत के ज्ञान और दर्शन का विकास है। भारत का ये सांस्कृतिक दर्शन एक बार फिर शिखर पर पहुंचकर विश्व के मार्गदर्शन के लिए तैयार हो रहा है। साथियों, भगवान महाकाल एकमात्र ऐसे ज्योतिर्लिंग है जो दक्षिण मुखी है, ये शिव के ऐसे स्वरूप है जिसकी भस्म आरती पूरे विश्व में प्रसिद्ध है। हर भक्त अपने जीवन में भस्म आरती के दर्शन जरूर करना चाहता है। भस्म आरती का धार्मिक महत्व यहां उपस्थित आप सब संतगण ज्यादा गहराई से पता पाएंगे, लेकिन मैं इस परंपरा में हमें भारत की जीवटता और जीवंतता के दर्शन भी करता हूं। मैं इसमें भारत के अपराजेय अस्तित्व को भी देखता हूं।
And just a short while back, I spoke to Amish Tripathi, director of the Nehru Centre at London and author of 9 books, including Lord Shiva's trilogy, about the Prime Minister at Ujjain and the inauguration of the Mahakal Lok. He dismissed criticism of use of taxpayers' funds, saying Hindu temple funds have been used by governments for decades and only a very small part is being used at the Mahakal Lok or Kashi redevelopment. He insists a lot more needs to be done and is being done. As we see these images on India Today, what goes through your heart at this point of time? You're a Shiv Bhakt yourself.
You can't imagine the emotions running through my mind. You know, rongte khade ho gaye. I saw the beautiful Shivling, the chanting going on. I took off my shoes actually. Couldn't be wearing that when this wonderful chanting was going on. I had the honor of visiting the Mahakal Lok, a few weeks back, and I think the government has done such a wonderful job out there. You know, it's not just the fact that there's this lovely Pratima of Shivji. Everything has been done in a traditional way. Shivji's family is there. The Saptarishi, the Murtis are there. Various parts of Lord Shiva's legends are there. Small, small details like even the signages have been put in the traditional way. The style of construction is traditional. The way it used to be in ancient times, you know, with a big wall and engraved carvings on it is just, you know, and then seeing that Shivling being unveiled by Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji with the chanting. Oh, I'm very emotional right now. Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya. But, you know, for this generation, what does this mean? Because, you know, many would argue, why is it so important to visit, for example, the Mahakaleshwar Temple?
Gaurav, look, there's a scientific reason for it as well. First of all, you know, there's this belief that the younger generation is very westernized and does not like to be connected to our culture. I would disagree with that. I mean, there are various proofs, and one of them is the sales of my books. My books are completely connected to our culture, and most of my readers are actually the youth. But every generation has a right to look at our traditional stories from their lens. And the modern generation is such that they want to see things from a rational, scientific perspective. Well, there's a rational reason for the Mahakaleshwar as well, for the Mahakaleshwar Ji. It's not just about religiosity and rituals out there. Many don't know this, that today zero meridian is at Greenwich in the United Kingdom. But in ancient times, it was actually at Ujjain. It's mentioned in the Surya Siddhanta, which is at least 1500 to 2000 years old. Ujjain was the only place where the zero meridian and the Tropic of Cancer bisected, which meant that at summer solstice, or Dakshinayan as we say in India, the sun would be right overhead over Ujjain. It is believed that the rays of the sun at that time used to fall on the shikhar of Mahakaleshwar Ji. So even till today, the Indian calendar that we have, the Kal Nirnay, is based on Ujjain as the zero meridian. So there is a scientific basis. Ujjain in those days was called Avanti. Scientists, our ancient rishis weren't just religious people, they were also scientists. They used to gather at Ujjain, from Bhaskaracharya ji to Brahmagupta ji, various others. They would gather out there. Mathematics, astronomy, our greatest texts, scientific mathematical texts were discussed, debated and written in those areas. So what I would hope is with the revival at Mahakal Lok, this is not just a religious occasion, this is also a civilizational and scientific occasion.
In fact, that's the point I was coming to. Amish, isn't it said that even Krishna ji came here to Ujjain for his education? This is where he met Sudama. This is where, this was a place of learning, a center for learning, and not just a spiritual center.
You are absolutely right. And in fact, in ancient times, all our temple towns were also great university towns. This is how it is in the West as well, by the way. Oxford, Cambridge grew actually around churches, but those are relatively recent universities. The oldest university in the world was actually Takshashila. It was destroyed by invaders, sadly, as were universities at Ujjain, at Nalanda, at Vikramshila, Vallabhi. Some of these universities were founded by women. Gaurav, you'll be shocked to know. Vallabhi, for example, was founded by a woman. This was a status that women had in ancient India. This was the high point of our scientific and cultural wing. I'm not anti-West. There are things from the West that we should learn. It has been the most successful culture of the last 400, 500 years. But there are many wonderful things in our past as well. Can we revive them? Can we revive that scientific questioning spirit, but not lose the religious spirit? Our ancestors could marry the two. You don't have to pick religiosity or a scientific attitude. You could have both.
And you know, since you've been here, since you've seen the corridor that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is seeing right now, it begins with the Nandi Dwar, the Pinaki Dwar, goes to the Saptrishis, and the concept of Guru Shishya Parampara, Adi Guru Shivji and the Saptrishis, his first disciples, Amish.
Absolutely. And you know, among the things is that we had separate Saptarishis for each Manvantar. If I'm not mistaken, this is the Saptarishis that have been shown there are for our Manvantar. So detailing has been done to that level in Mahakal Lok. I'm very impressed by the work that has been done. You know, beautiful architecture, beautiful sculptures. One of the good things that will also happen with temple projects like this is many of the dying arts will actually get revived, right? Because many of the sculptors of various art forms that were built around our temples, where they had no sustenance because new temples weren't being built on this scale. You know, now it is being done, so which is a very good thing. I'm delighted to see this.
What does this mean to those who would say that why should the government be doing this? Why should the Prime Minister be involved in this in a secular state?
I have heard this, Gaurav, but among the things that we should know, that the only religion whose worship places can be legally taken over by the government in India, the national or the state government, is actually the religion of Hinduism. This is a British era law. At that time, of course, you know, there were biases against us idol worshippers. So a law was brought in only on Hindu temples. Regrettably, post-independence, that law continued. So the government, national or state, legally cannot take over Muslim mosques or Christian churches or Sikh gurudwaras, but they can legally take over temples, appropriate their property. Many of your viewers will be shocked to know that the donations they give to a temple will not necessarily go to the temple. It could go to the government, and there are some state governments which fund their deficits from temple donations. How fair is that?
So you think that should stop? You think Hindu temple funds should only be used for Hindus?
Gaurav, the point I'm making in this scenario is that the government is not spending taxpayer money to revive these temples. They are only returning a small portion of the money that the government has already taken from temples over the last 75 years. So there's not taxpayer money being funded, there's actually temple money, small portion of it being reinvested back where it should be. You know, and our ancient temples, it was not just about the beauty of the temples. We had schools out there, free schools for you know, for students in that area. The temple would have annadan. The temple would have ponds, which were in some ways flood control measures as well. Many of these things should be revived. And this is, I'll repeat once again, there's not taxpayer money being used out here. This is old temple money which has already been taken by the national and the state governments over 75 years. Small portion of it being reinvested back.
That's a very, very interesting point that you make there, Amish. In your view, we've seen what's happened at Kashi Vishwanath Corridor. You've seen what's happening here at the Mahakal Corridor. Should this be expanded across our country, and should that happen, what would it lead to?
Yes, it certainly should be expanded, and Gaurav, the good news is happening already. And I must credit, parties across the political spectrum for doing this. It is happening in Odisha, at Jagannath Ji. It has happened in Telangana, the temple out there. At various states, these temple revival projects are happening. What you see is, of course, a revival of the area around the temple as well. The area around the Mahakal Lok will get tremendously revived because there will be many more people coming there. Just to give you some statistic, because I have, a cousin who's in the Vishwanath Ji Trust. He says that normally in Mahashivratri days, Kashi Vishwanath Ji used to get around 400,000 to 500,000 devotees. Today, every day, that number of devotees come. Now think of course, the revival of that area, but what also happens culturally is so many people are getting reconnected to their ancient culture. So many people are getting reconnected to each other. At Kashi Vishwanath Ji, you have people from across India coming and connecting to each other. These are in some ways uniting factors as well. They bring the nation together.
Amish, for joining me here on this India Today special broadcast. Many thanks. Well, that is all we have time for on India First this evening.